I tell you guys a story now. There are a lot of things I be wanting to talk to you guys about on my YouTube channel that sometimes I just say, nah, I ain't gonna talk to them about that because I don't want to seem a certain type of way. But this particular thing, I decided I'm gonna go ahead and tell you guys this story. About five, we're gonna see if we can keep this under 5 minutes. So it was this other other night. I walk into a store and it was this woman. I guess she worked at the place. I never seen her before, but she worked there because she had the shirt on of the place, but I had never seen her before. So either she had just got hired or she was applying for a job, but most likely she had just got hired because she already had the employee shirt on. And the way she was looked like she was filling out some paperwork or something. It could have been her training day or something like that. So I walk in, and this woman was cute. She was a black woman. She was a little too tall for me though. She was about 6 feet tall. The tallest woman I dated was the black woman in Vegas. She was about 5'7". That was like perfection. Plus she was built like a freaking stallion. Drove me nuts. And when I say stallion, I don't mean no. She had like C-size boobs, and she just had a nice body. She looked like she was just in shape. It don't mean her ass was huge and she had huge tits. When I say banging or stallion a woman, I'm not talking about big things. I'm talking about the woman just shapely. She just built up nice. All right, and on a 5'7" frame too. Usually I'm into women around 5'3", 5'4". But every now and then you see a woman who's like 5'7", who's just built like a stallion, and you just be like, man, you know what I mean? This woman I seen at the store, she was about 6 feet tall, which even though she was cute and she was nice looking, that's a little too tall for me. You screwed if she wears heels. For a guy perspective of my height, you screwed if she wears heels. You looking like Gary Coleman standing next to her. Nevertheless, I just looked at her and she was cute. I just looked at her like, damn, that girl cute. I didn't stare at her like that. I just looked at her like, man, girl, you looking good. Then when I walked out, she had left ahead of me, and then when I walked out, she was in like one of the cars, but I couldn't figure out which car she was in because it was like all the cars had tinted windows. I don't know if this girl got a sense of me looking at her or peeping her out, which most likely she did. Women are intuitive. They know when a guy's staring at them. They don't even gotta be looking at you. They know when they being looked at. Me, I don't dress like I'm rich or anything, but compared to a lot of dudes, I dress pretty, I'm above average dresser. Let's put it that way. I can put on some casual clothes and it can look like, it just, my clothes are fitted now. I finally reached the point where I'm able, I understand how to shop for myself to buy clothes that's just fitted on me the right way, you know? You just get to a certain age, you just master that shit, man, especially if you paying attention to that type of stuff. So all I can guess is that this woman, since that I was checking her out, and when I got in my car and drove off, I heard this car like screech and was behind me. And I said to myself, I still couldn't really see to the window too good. I said, that's that chick. I said, I bet you that's that chick. I said, damn, I wonder why she coming up behind me. Like, cause guys, it was like late at night. It was hardly nobody out. Like, she coming up behind me kind of aggressive. And then she even screeched her tires and went in front of me, guys. And I'm like, what the hell? Is that? That's when I start asking, because that was a dude move. Like, what are you doing? It wasn't even one of those type of cars. It wasn't a Charger or nothing like that. It was just like a regular car. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? Goes past me, stops at the light. Then I pull up next to the side of her. I realized it was her. Anyway, I got in the turning lane, made a right turn. She was in a regular, lane, like she was going forward. So I'm thinking, all right, well, whatever she's doing, she probably in a hurry. Maybe it had nothing to do with me. No, it did have something to do with me. This woman seemed like she had lost her mind for a few minutes. I don't know what happened. People talking about my energy these days. I'm hearing a lot of stuff about myself that I really don't know. I mean, I know I have an effect over people. I've been seeing some stuff. I've been, some stuff going on, especially with older women. And like I say, I'm just telling y'all the truth. I'm not telling y'all like this to sound like, I'm some kind of ladies man and not, because I'm kind of a nerdy guy. I know how to turn on the sexiness and the pizzazz when I need to, but for the most part, I carry myself around like, in a dignified manner, intellectual type dude walking around who's just looking for a meaningful conversation. I mean, that's the way I carry myself. Understand? So I make the right turn. Remember, she's in a regular lane. All of a sudden, I hear the car screech again, and she's behind me. I'm like, wait, she wasn't even in the right turn lane. So this woman came from behind me, screeched the tires to get in front of me, then was in a regular lane. I pull up beside her. I'm in the right lane. I make a right turn. Then she's again, and she's up behind me, guy. And this woman she followed me about 2 miles behind me. And I said to myself, at first, I wanted to stop because I kind of wanted to ask her what you want, because it's like, damn, you just the girl I seen in the store with the store employee shirt on, who looked like they was in their training day or something. Looked like she was filling out some paperwork, and now I'm being followed by this same broad. I wanted to actually pull over, but I couldn't pull over because it was like, well, she's behind me. What I'm gonna do? Stick my head out the window and say, "Hey, girl, you know what I mean? What you doing?" It's too awkward. So all I could do was just stay in my car and keep moving. You know what I mean? She followed me for a good 2 miles, guys, and then till she finally turned. That woman was following me. I don't know why she was following me. It wasn't like she wasn't ops or anything. She was the person who had just got hired at this store, who decided to follow me because she sensed that I was checking her out. She was a black woman. Now, black women, from my experience, can be pretty aggressive when they into a dude. That's my experience. They can be pretty aggressive. Black women like that. They just have a nature about them. They can be very aggressive when they see something they want, especially when it comes to a man. They can be very aggressive. Okay? That's a part of me that kind of scares me about black women in America. They can be very aggressive in that manner, almost like a masculine type of energy on them when it comes to that. But you can't blame them though, because since the lighter skinned woman has become the standard of beauty, which I wouldn't even say that, man, because I mean, I've seen some beautiful black women out here. It's just, man, how can we say, look, the most beautiful women in the world are from South Africa. Michael Jackson got a song called Liberian Girl. The most beautiful women are from Africa. All right. I'm just going to put it like that. And they are black women. Majority of them are in South Africa. So let's make that clear. But here in the United States, the white woman or the lighter skinned woman is a standard of beauty. And that's just the way it is. However, every now and then I come across a very attractive black woman in the States that take care of themselves and stuff like that. But anyway, this wasn't this chick that was following me. She looked like she was in her early 20s. Looked like she could have been 20, 21 years old. It's been a lot of stuff going on between me and women around that age. I think that they're starting to sense that there's not a lot of options out here. Okay? And even if they see me and they know I'm older and stuff, they see me as survival. Women are all about survival. And we'll talk about that another day. Women are all about that, just surviving. That's in their nature because they have children and stuff. They're all about surviving. That's why if you're a man, you need to have your shit together. And I know this is going way over 5 minutes, but that's okay because I have to get this off my chest, man. But that chick following me, she didn't look like the type of woman that was desperate. Something clicked in this woman's head where she decided to follow me, guys. And it did not have, I don't think it had anything to do with desperation. It has something to do with ambition. She saw something that had, just because I looked her way, and she saw something that she knew she would not see for a long time again, and she decided to follow my ass. Bottom line, whether she was crazy or not, she didn't look like she was crazy. I got a pretty intuitive, I can pretty pick up things from people. It was like ambition. I've been thinking about this for a while. Why did she follow me? Like it was an ambitious move, a very ambitious move on her behalf. I just didn't understand, what did she expect me to do? Stick my head out the window? You know, because I'm not one of those type of black men. Now, you know, a lot of black guys out here, you know, they would have been like, yo, shorty or something. They would have been all, you know, brash about. I'm not a brash type of dude. I carry myself in a dignified manner, and I'm just thinking, I wanted to say something to her. Believe me, guys, I wanted to say something to her, just to get a good look at her, you know, because it's an experience for me. But I'm like, what am I supposed to do? This woman's been following me for 2 miles, and I'm not finna just stick my head out the window and be like, hey, yo, shorty. I'm not. That's not what I do. That's not the way I want to smooth up on a woman, is to be brash like that. And I couldn't pull up beside her. What am I gonna do? Pull my car off to the side, let her go ahead, and then start following her? Then she can then she can call police and say she got a nigga following her ass. I wasn't gonna do that. You know what I'm saying? It was weird, y'all. But once again, I'm gonna go ahead and close it out. It wasn't a move of desperation. It was a move of ambition. And based on what I see on these young men these days, you know, a lot of these young men they got a feminine spirit on them, or not even a feminine spirit. They got a spirit on them where they just, I don't know, they don't have a drive about them, man. And I think women in their 20s, some of them in their early 20s, are starting to sense that if they don't find a man, you know, we're talking about the ones that ain't off into no buffoonery, and, you know, they're not out here trying to, you know, do a lot of riffraff. They are ambitiously looking for a man that can stand on his own 2 feet and carry his own weight, that they don't have to babysit. So that's my final conclusion on what that was all about again. But again, guys, it was just strange to me that she worked at that place. Now, chances is I might see her again. You know, that's if she decides to keep the job. I know it was a work shirt she had on, because black women don't wear shirts like that with store names like that on their shirts. So she was somebody who was working there, or was applying, or who was on their first or second day. But that broad followed me for 2 miles. I could not believe it. I was wondering, had that ever happened to me before? I said, man, it really is the first time for everything. I'll be damned.